Andrew, Laura, Jeff in Las Vegas. Thank you for joining me today to talk about your documentary, American Sons. It's an incredible accomplishment, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Laura, the documentary opens up with sobering statistics with veterans and suicides, particularly from the Gulf War and Afghanistan and Kuwait. But these stories are from Marines in particular and their families, right?
Absolutely. This film originated with the footage of JV Villarreal during his deployment, and we were blessed enough to have the footage brought to us as a team. And later, several years later, right, it takes time to really figure out how you're going to move forward with a project like this. When I was working with Andrew, showed it to Andrew, and we knew it was something very special. So when we were able to be with the family and the Marine Brothers, then we definitely knew there was something that we could pursue. And this is a story that we definitely needed to tell. And all originating with JV Villarreal, who unfortunately was killed in action during that deployment.
And Andrew, this particular is India 312, and they were put in the most dangerous situations. How did you gain trust from the other soldiers to tell their story?
Well, first I had to say the Marines because I've been corrected on that at the very beginning of the project. So once a Marine, always a Marine. Um, that just took time to follow the story and let them know that we cared and be curious. That was the biggest thing, be curious. And a lot of people ask me, what can we do right now? And I said, when you see a veteran, don't just say thank you for your service. Ask them what their job was, ask them what they did, ask them, about their experiences, and they'll share them with you. And so I think it was just the curiosity, spending time with them, spending a lot of time with them, sometimes staying for several days at a time at their house, and oh, just being available. And when they allowed me to roll the camera, it just got comfortable, and then they would just start to say things. They would say things off camera, and then maybe I would bring it back when we're on camera, and I would mention something, and then they kind of continue on with the story. So it was just being present, being with them, and developing a relationship, treating them like they're my friends, and we developed a good friendly relationship with them.
And Laura, as a documentary filmmaker, I mean, you just had so much material to work with, using their own footage, their confessionals. Was that just the ability to tell their story even more incredible to have all that footage available?
Yeah, this was a treasure trove of footage and materials because this was a first person account of his deployment from the moment they landed up until the day before that JV took. But we also had a set of photographs from Getty image photographer Scott Olson, who also appears in the film. And you can see his set of photographs from when he landed the few days before JV's accident, well, with the roadside bomb or IED, excuse me. So you see the days before leading up to the day of, and then you see the days after. And then we also had an archive of the men's photos along with JV's photos. So it was, we were blown away. We also had footage that we didn't even have access to because it was in a different format, not until we got that to Andrew. And when he can tell you from there what happened, and then we're just like, wow.
And
Yeah.
Andrew,
So
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to follow up. Yeah, the footage, when it came through, mostly what we saw were these photos that were taken during the time of JV's passing, which are incredible photos. And also on this hard drive were videos that you could see men at in combat. And then there were videos that you couldn't just watch. And so once I got a hold of everything, I converted them, and we realized that we had a JV's entire narrative of his time in Afghanistan, which was really just changed everything for us. And there were so many things in there that it took us a long time to realize it. So we realized that, wow, this is amazing. This young man's telling his story. But then when we started getting into editing, you start looking for stuff. You recognize, wow, he's saying this, he's saying that, and a lot of that helped us to put together our very first sample that we used to start fundraising.
And what I love about this documentary, it's also a Texas story too. It's about brotherhood, it's about bonding, but it's about the great state of Texas. And I was wondering, is that what makes it so unique? Because you're telling, I mean, you guys are locals too, right?
That's right.
Yeah, we're both from Texas, born and raised, just like JV. We are, Mexican American, proud Mexican Americans. We recognize the contribution that our community has given to the USA in these past wars and this war. And so it was lovely to be able to fill in the gaps of history and storytelling so that people can see that perspective. However, it grew to be a much bigger perspective, and hence the name American Sons, because this is America, right? And we're just part of that reflection. Our US, Latino history in the US, or Mexican American history is US history. And it's just we were really honored to be able to have told JV's story and the Marine story.
And Andrew, what was that one moment for you in this documentary? Because for documentary filmmakers, it's about that aha moment. Was it a particular scene, a confessional, a moment? So the one that stands out among all the footage and things that you accepted.
Wow. Trying to think of one moment is really challenging.
You too,
You
Laura.
know,
I think too.
when you're filming, there's certain moments, like there's a scene when Ty Clinton, he hugs his sergeant in the street, and that was the very first thing that we ever recorded at all. It was the first time we pressed record on the camera, and that's what happened. And so that's one in particular. And then there's another one when we go into the apartment, kind of at the midpoint of the film. And if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about, where Angel and Ty, they reconnect. And, you know, I tell a lot of people sometimes it's just choosing where to stand and making sure the camera's recording and being in the moment. This something will just happen in front of you. And so then it's just about don't shake the camera, don't jerk the camera, stay there, stay in the moment and record. And I'm looking in the screen and thinking, what's happening here? This is incredible. It was so emotional, and I was very emotional during and after, and you just knew something special, that you had recorded something special, something different and unique, and that's kind of how we shaped the film. It was like we had these scenes that we know were so important, and then we found a way to just kind of connect all the scenes throughout the film.
Yeah, I think once again it's true. If you're feeling it on set, or it's not even a set, right? If you're feeling it on location, this is verite film, right? And we're interviewing people. And if you're feeling that emotion when you're filming, you just really hope that you got it. And when for me, it was think some of the most touching scenes and difficult scenes for me were when we were interviewing Yolanda Villarreal to
Mm.
talk about her son JV and how that, what happened that day. I think that was we really felt
Hmm.
that we it was very heartbreaking for us as well
Hmm.
to hear that story and to have to capture it. However, we feel like it was so important that people actually go through that whole story with her, because it really happened not only to her but to so many other mothers,
Hmm.
right? So that one was really, for me, one of the most difficult ones, interviews to have to do, and as well as Jonathan Eckert at the very end, who was with JV on his last day. Um, it was difficult, it was emotional, it was a beautiful interview, but to have to really, even the fact that we had to have an interview about JV passing is difficult for everybody. Yeah.
And what I took away from your documentary was in the current political climate, cutting vet funding, cutting their services, cutting 70,000 jobs that the veterans depended on. It just shows you how important it is, this small group of Marines that you're showcasing, how important it is to take care of our vets. And all through this, that's they need the services, they need the counseling, they need the jobs. I mean, this comes your phone comes at a time where that people need to be aware of what we owe them.
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
Especially in an all-volunteer force now, right? We do. We have to take care of them from as soon as they sign up to the very end, because they did. They are doing their part, and it's time for us now to do that part.
Yeah, it's very key. So with the film, kind of our mission here is to push this in front of folks that are working in the legislative process to give veterans an opportunity and new opportunities for transition. So when these guys went to war, they trained for like 2 years, right? And when they leave, there's no training for that.
Right?
So
Exactly.
you know, that when you go into the military, it changes you fundamentally. I mean, you're trained to do a specific job, and in the civilian world, the jobs are not the same.
I could, Andrew, I could see it in their eyes. I mean, a lot of
Absolutely.
views, I'm like, wow, these guys, they're trained for a specific job. And then when they leave that job, it's like back in the real world. But even during the interviews, you could just see in their face that they're not
Mm,
the people that they were when they went in.
that's right. That's right. And that's it. They're a different person. And I think a lot of times, you know, because I've heard this, and guys had said this in front of her to me. They said, like, you know, why can't I go back to how I was? You know, and now I realize, well, you're not that person anymore. You know, you're a completely different human being, and we need to work from there now. We need to work who that person is today and the skills that person has today, and how does that fit? How does that work in the civilian world? You know, and what we've seen is the guys who spend more time in the military afterwards, they transition a little bit better. So we need to, I feel like there needs to be some sort of a military type, you know, training or transitional period, or, you know, jobs that are, you know, they have the same kind of protocols and regiments that the military does, and guys would be successful being there. But, you know, also I don't know. So we're just like one voice, part of many, and we're looking to contribute to that larger conversation.
Well, Laura, finally today, taking it to South by Southwest. I'm sure it's making its rounds everywhere, but how was that experience going and showing it there and getting reaction?
I think it was really quite a dream come true for any filmmaker, right? To have your premiere there at South by Southwest, but to have such, I feel it was such a successful screening. We had packed audiences in the house. We had filmmakers, VIPs, the whole family, JV's sister, JV's mother. And then turning to the side in the emotional moments and seeing people crying and at the end being really touched. I just feel like, man, that is, we couldn't have asked for anything better. It was a great festival experience, and
Mm.
I feel like I'm so glad we were able to share the story with the world, because it's getting out there, and we're going to broadcast on PBS later this year, and we're just, yeah, super excited for the film.
That's exciting.
Mm.
I'm a big advocate of PBS, so wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on a great experience, on a great documentary. I appreciate your time today. You guys work really hard, so come visit us in Las Vegas soon. We'd love to have you.
Hey,
Oh, we'd love to be there.
love to be there. All
Wonderful.
right.
Thank you. Let's talk again soon.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Jeffrey.